Hi, this is The Cross Connection, and I'm Brent Little. There's a lot of requests for this question to be answered, namely, where did Cain get his wife? Well, the story is found in Genesis chapter 4. And if you'll recall, Adam and Eve had two sons named Cain and Abel. Cain being the oldest, and they may have even been twins because there's only one conception mentioned, but two births. But be that as it may, these boys grew up together, and Cain became a farmer and Abel a herdsman. Now, apparently God had set up some kind of a sacrificial system that required an animal sacrifice. If you recall, in the garden when Adam and Eve sinned, God had made coats of skin for them to cover their nakedness, and apparently a couple animals had to be sacrificed for that. So there was this sacrificial system in place. And for some reason, Cain tried to sneak in a vegetable offering, which God didn't have any respect for, but he respected Abel's offering. And so Cain, being this really jealous guy, decided it was too much, and he ended up killing his own brother because of that issue. Well, God confronted him, and he banished him to another land where we are told that Cain knew his wife. Well, the question becomes then, where did Cain get his wife? Since there was Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel, where did the wife come from? Well, we're also told in Scripture that Adam and Eve had other sons and daughters also. And if you think about it, there was approximately 120-something years between Cain and Abel's birth and the murder. And so Adam and Eve having other sons and daughters, their sons and daughters could have had sons and daughters, and their sons and daughters could have had sons and daughters, and so on for this 120-some year period. And so by the time Cain is banished, there is a whole little group of family members possible with them. So apparently Cain married his relative. Whether it was a sister or a cousin, we don't know. But logic dictates that's the only place his wife could have come from, but it also makes perfect sense. Now you wonder about, well, what the genetic issues, the moral issues of marrying your sister or your cousin, first cousin. If you take a copy, make a copy of some information, and then take that copy and copy it, and then you copy that copy, and you continue to do that, you're going to get a degradation of the quality of information. And from what I understand about genetics, it's very similar. You make copies, and the copies make copies, and pretty soon you get these mutations in there that after some time will cause disease and birth defects. But when we're thinking in terms of Adam and Eve, they had the original genetic code. And I doubt if there was any mutations in that code when it was first given. And so by the time you get to Cain and Abel and that little family group that grew up within the first 120 years, there probably was very few mutations to hinder that kind of thing and cause birth defects. We know that Abraham, years later, married his half-sister, and there wasn't a problem. And it wasn't until Moses came along that God put this law in about not being able to marry certain relatives. And apparently by that time, the genetic pool had become polluted with mutations to the point where it would threaten to cause birth defects. I'm sure there's other issues as well, but that's what we're talking about here. So here we have Cain marrying a relative of his. Not so hard to do. This is not some big question that can't be answered, or aha, we got you on this one. Just simply, he married one of his relatives. Makes perfect sense. Adam and Eve had other sons and daughters, and they did too. I hope this helps with the answer to that question, and I'll see you next time.